Hi everyone, and welcome to the Inspire series, a series designed to give you inspiration. Today, we will be talking about Vincent van Gogh. This will be the first episode in this series. Vincent van Gogh. All over the world, people have heard that name, that artist, one of the greatest artists in history, especially known for his works Starry Night and his series of paintings on sunflowers. Here is a brief overview about his life and aspects of it that you may not know. Vincent was born on the 30th of March 1853 in South Netherlands, the oldest surviving child of 6. Although his father was a minister, his grandfather was an art dealer, also named Vincent, and this man's great uncle was a sculptor, so art ran in the family. As a child, Vincent was known to be thoughtful, and his mother encouraged him to draw. Age 16, Vincent was offered a position working at his uncle's place of work, an art dealer's called Goupil and Company. After a few years there, he was transferred to the London branch. He lived at 87 Hatford Road in Stockwell. A great little house, now known as the Van Gogh House, a non-profit contemporary arts organisation. A great site to visit if you are ever in London and of course interested. They support artists make a living in their lifetime, something Vincent could not. I'd highly recommend a visit, especially if you're interested in Van Gogh's life, or if you happen to be in the area. Fun fact as well, 87 Hatford Road is also the name of Vincent's first known work, a sketch recognised only a century after its creation. According to his brother Theo's wife, Joanna, it was a happy time for him when he was in London working. He was then sent to Paris, where he was eventually dismissed at his job due to disagreements on how art dealers approached the art they sold. Before becoming an artist, he also worked as a supply teacher, worked in a bookshop, and as a missionary in Belgium. It was at age 27 that Vincent decided to properly start painting and decided to become an artist. I remember finding this out in my 20s and felt encouraged by this prospect. Really, it's a reminder that it's never too late to start a new chapter or career or hobby. And in the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at the average age that we live, 27 is relatively still young. And I think sometimes in society, especially for anyone in their 20s, we feel like we have to have and get things done and accomplish things, especially during that decade. I think there is pressure. But when you're just starting out, I think that it's completely unnecessary to think like that, because you can evolve in any decade, in any year of your life. In Rhone, Netherlands, Vincent was able to focus on painting and drawing. Vincent lived in poverty most of his adult life, spending money sent by Theo on art supplies rather than food to eat. In his early to mid-30s, he moved to Paris and lived with his brother, who was also a manager of an art gallery. Here he painted still life and portraits. Before this, he was also inspired and interested in Japanese woodblock prints and artists like Hokusai. It was here he came into contact with many other post-impressionist artists. Post-impressionism was a mostly French art movement between 1886 and 1905, known for vivid colours and expressive impact. This was a formative time for his art, taking inspiration from many artists working in Paris at the time. Seurat, Pissarro, Toulouse-Lautrec, and Paul Gauguin, to name a few. Vincent would smoke and drink often, affecting his health. His poor health prompted him to move to the south of France in search for countryside and the sun. He moved to Arles, where he wanted to found an art community. Arles was the place where he did much of his great works. He found inspiration in the countryside and the hot sun, which is reflected in his colour schemes of his paintings, where you can see a lot of yellows and ultramarine shades. Here he found a yellow house which he used as a studio. He worked on a series of paintings with the aim to use them as decorations for the house. You can see this idea in his 1888 work, Bedroom in Arles, and in this painting you can see the walls that he's painted are decorated with various paintings that he did, which is really cool because if you look closely you can maybe identify one with a countryside landscape, and then there's a couple that look like portraits of various people, and it might be one might be even of himself. Gauguin, prompted by Theo, went to visit Van Gogh in Arles, which excited Vincent. Gauguin was reluctant, but he decided to go. Vincent decided he wanted to decorate the walls with more paintings for Gauguin's visit, and this prompted him to paint different versions of sunflowers. Paul eventually came and the two painted together. However, their relationship soon began to crumble as Gauguin was very overpowering. In December 1888, according to Gauguin, as he was the only witness, with things heated between the two of them, one day Gauguin wanted to leave and he decided to go for a walk. According to him, Vincent followed him during a walk with a razor in his hand. However, there is evidence that Paul was in fact staying in a local hotel, so we don't know how true this is. Van Gogh later cut his ear during this time, and it was during a state of turmoil, and he soon went to hospital. Gauguin left Arles never to see Vincent van Gogh again, but did write. Vincent suffered from hallucinations even when returning home from hospital, and eventually he admitted himself to an asylum in Saint-Remy de Provence. During this time there, he was able to continue painting. He used scenes from his window and garden as inspiration. Van Gogh did leave the clinic to move closer to his doctor and his brother Theo. However, in his letters, Vincent expressed feelings of sadness and loneliness. On July 1890, Van Gogh shot himself with a revolver. He did survive the bullet and was able to walk to his home where doctors were present. Unfortunately, he developed an infection and died the next day, with his brother Theo being there. Vincent was 37 years old when he died. His brother Theo also died shortly after this, the following year, due to deterioration of an illness he had, and possibly because of the impact of his brother's death. They were buried next to each other, quite fitting since they were very close to each other. And it is only through Vincent's letters to Theo in his lifetime that we know this much about him. And Theo's wife, Joanna, so Vincent's sister-in-law, was the one that recognized that the world needed to see his art. And it is because of her, essentially, that we know him as one of the greats, because she really tried to expose his work and collected his pieces so that the world could one day see all of them and recognize his greatness. So really, it is very much the relationship of Vincent and Theo that also led to him becoming the artist we now know today. Vincent had many struggles in his lifetime, and it seemed people did not understand him. It is estimated that he created over 2,000 pieces of art, including paintings and drawings. Only one painting was sold in his lifetime, the Red Vineyard. He had passion for life and his art, and this really shines through his work. His legacy lasts, being the inspiration for movies, songs, books, people all over the world visiting art galleries and exhibitions to see his work. He is an inspiration to those who relate to him, and a reminder to keep doing what you are doing, being yourself, because there will always be some that recognize that. And even if there isn't people who recognize your greatness, the thing that only you have within you, you never know what your legacy is. Vincent's art career was relatively short, 10 years, but he is known as one of the greats. He, unfortunately, was not able to see the popularity of his art in his lifetime. But there were people in his lifetime that did see his talent and his artwork, and this caused ripple effects and continued beyond his lifetime. And sometimes we may do things not knowing the ripple effects that we may have in what we do, how we behave, who we are, but you just never know, and we may never even know the impacts that it may have beyond our lifetime. And for Vincent van Gogh, his art, which he was so passionate about and cared for so much, is his legacy.